So today we're going to do a Power BI overview. It's going to be a relatively quick run through of it, but through that we'll go through the sort of technology behind it, what it can do and what it can't do, and give a demo of it. So starting with Power BI, who am I? I'm a CRM consultant with C2 Software. I've been working with Dynamics CRM for just a little over 6 years now. And I just really know Dynamics very well, and Dynamics 365 these days, it's providing a lot of interesting new material, including things like Power BI. So Power BI, what is it? So this is a quote from Microsoft. It's a suite of business analytics tools to analyze data and share insights, monitor your business and get answers very quickly, and rich dashboards on every device. The reason I've highlighted key words here is it really is highlighting exactly what Power BI is. It's a business intelligence tool. It is designed as a high-level dashboard and reporting tool that allows you to visualize your data that you have in various different sources. That various different sources is important to keep in mind. There's lots of different types of data that you can draw into the system. So what exactly is it technology-wise? What's it made up of? In terms of the overall Power BI suite, so we're talking about it here. So you've got your connected apps on the left that are pushing the data into the Power BI service. You've got your Power BI desktop as your desktop app for creating the data sets and the reports and the dashboards. Power BI gateways, the little piece of software that you install on the server, and that will push your data into the Power BI cloud service. For the Power BI gateways, you do need to have a pro license. That is not available for free, but I'll get more into that later on. And access-wise, so the actual service can be utilized and consumed on various different devices, including through native applications that Microsoft provides. All of that is free. So basic building blocks, what actually constitutes the building of these things? So visualizations, at its core, this is about visualizing data in a way that allows you to quickly see in aggregate what your data, what your business is doing, what your team is doing. So it's a heavy graphical representation of your data, and it makes the visualization of your data relatively straightforward, and you can do quite a lot with that, including things like maps. So you can take address data and you can display specific visualizations around geographic information. There's things around dates and times. There's things around currency and money. So it has custom visualizations for the type of data, and you can actually set the type of data when you set up your data sets. Data sets, so they are the actual, that's the core schema. This is the actual data model in the back end of everything. So that all reports and all dashboards are based on a data set. The data set itself is, if you know how to work with relational databases, you'll know how to work with a data set. But the thing to keep in mind with a data set is this is the most technical part of the Power BI environment. What you can do is you can point your Power BI desktop app at some data, pull it in, and straight away you can start using it. But if you really want to get the best out of Power BI in your organization, the data set creation will probably fall down to your business intelligence data analysts, or there's usually a handful of people that know the data within your organization really well, and they will be the people that most likely will build these data sets. And then what you can do is you can actually publish those to the organization so other people can then consume them. So they don't need to know about putting the relationships together, to identifying the types of data. So you can actually see in the screenshot here, these little icons to the left of the name, you can actually signify what type of data it is. And all of that sort of minutiae and detail can be done by experts and then shared with the organization. So reports are the actual collection of visualizations that sit on top of the data set, and this is where you start to get into the actual interactivity. These are fully interactive reports, so I'll show you that shortly when I get into the demo. And then dashboards and tiles. So with the dashboard, what you can do is you can actually have a single page that when you go to Power BI, you see all of the key visualizations that matter to you, no matter what report they sit in. And that's a key thing. So this is actually a snapshot of many different reports. If you want the details of those individual reports, you can click on the visualization and you can go into the actual individual reports to see in more detail the details around that particular report. They're not interactive, but there's something that changed about that quite recently, so I'll show you a little bit of that shortly. So advantages. It's actually quite easy to get started with. I talked about data sets and the Power BI desktop earlier being quite complicated. It can be, but in the same way that Excel is very, very powerful. Anyone can use Excel. Anyone can use Power BI. It really is very, very simple to get started. It's free to use. The vast majority of what you'd actually use it for is actually free. So you don't generally need to get licenses unless you start getting into the Power BI gateways, so getting on-premise data. And even that is relatively cheap for what you're getting. We'll go into licensing details later, but there's two models for it, and I'll cover that at a later point. You've got data packs. So when I was talking about the data sets earlier and your technical users putting together data sets that you can then share with other people in the organization, Microsoft already has a collection of data packs, what they call data packs or content packs, that have pre-built data sets, reports, and dashboards for their own kind of services, but they've also allowed other people to publish these. So you'll find in the services a lot of data packs you can actually get for existing services that will give you a head start on setting up that data sets and reports. It's entirely point and click. If you know how to get around things like Excel and other Office products, you will understand the interface. It is in the same vein as all the other ones. And I say here, I'll mention Excel quite a bit. The two are very connected. Power BI is effectively, it's stemmed from something that appeared in Excel years ago, and it's taken it one step further. You can actually put Power BI reports into Excel. You can use Excel as a data source in Power BI. There's a lot of connection between the two. And going back to this idea of Insights Anywhere, it is a cloud-based service that you can access through pretty much any device. If you think of a device, you will be able to get the Power BI dashboards on it. It is cloud-based, so if you have a browser, you can access it directly there. There are native apps that allow you to access it quite nicely on the three major mobile platforms. And there's actually an ability to publish a dashboard. So what you can do is then embed that in website. So if you had some data that you wanted to provide to the public, you can actually embed certain parts of reports into your own website, and then you have interactive live data showing up on your website. It can be quite good for some things. Depends on what you're looking to do. As I mentioned before, there's over 50 different data sources. This is just a quick snapshot of all the various different logos and brands out there. You'll probably recognize a few of them. I'd be amazed if you could name all of them. I can't remember them all, but you can see even from there, you've got even Salesforce down there. You've got Dynamics, that's Nav there, the sales side of things, SharePoint as well. There's many, many different data sources, and it's not just web services like Dynamics 365 as you imagine databases. It's not even just that. You can actually see one of the icons here. That's a file system. You can actually point it to a file system, and then you can get reports on the files contained within the file system. Not the data within it. It's more for like the created on date, who created it. There's a lot of power in the different types of data sources you can use as well. So reports, they're interactive. You can drill down into them. There's a lot of filtering capability built in. So I'll show you that. It tends to, it really comes across quite nicely in the demo. So we'll leave that for there. And you can share it with anyone. Now, this one's initially one. Once you create a dashboard, once you create a report, you then have a link. You can share that. You can share that with anyone. Depending on the data that you have there, they may need to have some sort of login to get to that data, or you can publish it for public consumption. If you do have the Power BI Pro, then you can manage the security of reports and dashboards to a finer granular detail within your organization. So using Active Directory and user permissions, you can actually tailor it specifically to individuals within your organization with the licensing model. So with that, I'll jump over to CRM. So what I'm going to show in this demo is just highlight what it brings to Dynamics 365. So as you know, we're Dynamics 365 partners. We specialize in membership organizations. We have a lot of history there. And what we have is a solution CRM that provides useful services and processes around capturing membership organization details. So as part of that, we have our own custom entities that capture details for membership, and we have some dashboards that we have in the system. So as you can see here, if you're used to CRM, as you most likely are, then you'll recognize these sort of dashboards. They're the standard CRM dashboards. They're relatively limited. You can get quite a lot of power in them. You do have certain drill down capability, but it is relatively, arguably one-dimensional. This is where Power BI can really add that extra power. So same data source, except this time, if I jump over to here, so this is the Power BI interface. Right now, this is the back end of it. It's quite messy looking here, but if I jump to my members report, so this is the members dashboard you can see here. This is a number of different reports that are brought together on one page. So I mentioned before, you can bring these tiles in from different reports. If I select one, that will then jump to the report that data comes from. So you can see here, this is a breakdown of the membership organizations that we have across the country and where they are highlighted on a map. So I can actually click in that area and it will then filter the rest of the visualizations to that particular section. So I can see there's 5 total memberships in the region here of Northumberland. I can do it from the other side, so maybe I'm looking at April 2017. That's when we had 3 full members join April 2017. You can see it's highlighted on the map. I could click on various different other areas, and it zooms in. All of this was built by just simply pointing at the CRM, creating a few relationships, and adding the visualizations. This was quite simple to do. I haven't cleaned up much of the data. You can actually see, if you look into the data, which we'll get to in a second, the actual names of the fields and things are just directly from the CRM. So again, clicking on just different areas, you get a lot of drill down capability. You can see here there's a number of different reports in this one page. So I've got a membership summary, I've got memberships by year. So again, this is quite messy, our data is all over the place, but you can actually see this is the different types of memberships. We could see up here, so that's a full membership. We've got 6 total memberships, and you can see that we had a bit of a spike 2008 upwards. So you can see there's quite a lot of power in just even the different types of ways of visualizing effectively the same data. Jumping over here, this is one of the things I really like about Power BI. The idea of taking all of that data from different sources. One thing that's quite impressive is you can actually point at a website. If you point it at a website that has tabular data, so in this case, good example would be Wikipedia. So I've actually used Wikipedia to source the data for postcode information here. So what I'm actually doing is I've jumped over to Power BI. So this is the desktop app. This is where it's all built. So it's exactly the same things that you were just seeing there. If I go to the accounts by geography, that's the same report that I was just looking at in the cloud service. But if I go over to the dataset, so this is the back-end side. This is, you won't spend a lot of time here. This will be, as I said before, your technical business intelligence data analyst users will be the ones that build this kind of stuff and deal with this. But what you can see is a different data source here. I've got a Wikipedia postcode area. This is sourced directly from Wikipedia, from a Wikipedia page of regions in the UK. So I've pulled that into my data set, and I've provided relationships between that and my standard accounts from the CRM, which gives me some regional data that provides a better view of the geographic side of things than what I've got in my CRM system itself. So it just uses the postcode to put together the regions, and that way I have this nice sort of breakdown where I can select Edinburgh, and I can see all of the accounts that are related to Edinburgh in there, Angus, and all of the accounts related to Angus. So I mean, I think this one's a nice one to highlight, that you can point it to so many different sources. It's not just about Dynamics 365. It's about Dynamics 365 data in combination with your finance data, with your MailChimp, with your a spreadsheet of recent events that you've had people come to. You can push that into the system and then use that to connect to your Dynamics data. This brings all of your different data sources together in one business intelligence tool. So that's the sort of membership side. That's a kind of a quick overview of reports and data sets. Then the dashboard side. So I've started on a dashboard there. So go back to the dashboard and you can see there's a number of other ones. Let's have a look at this one here. So this is revenue. This one's actually showing, it's not membership data. This comes from a different Dynamics 365 environment entirely, but it's quite nice to show the filtering capability. So you can also have different types of, there's all sorts of different ways of visualizing the data, but you also have this filter capability where you can actually list out certain things and select them, and they'll filter all the visualizations based on that. Team scorecard as well with some extra information. One thing that has been added recently, so I mentioned before, dashboards are non-interactive in that the traditional dashboard, you go to it, you have a list of visualizations. I don't click anything. Nothing that I click here will filter anything else because these are all different reports. But what they have added now is this is a new type of dashboard, effectively, that you can actually add reports to the dashboard. So now, not only do I have this tile, so this is from a different report entirely, I now have the ability to embed an actual report page onto a dashboard. So now it is interactive. And this highlights, this is actually when I did this same presentation only a month ago. I had no idea this existed when I'd looked at it a few months before that. The system itself is evolving quite quickly. This is one of the cloud services that Microsoft is really investing a lot of time and development into, and you get releases on a fortnightly basis. That brings a lot of fixes, a lot of changes, but it actually brings a lot of additional functionality, and it is moving rapidly. So this is one of these things that has appeared that is really very nice. The fact that you can actually now merge reports into dashboards kind of means that dashboards become a little less important in some ways. It's an interesting connection now, but it's good to see where that goes. So that's that's Power BI in a nutshell. You got your service, cloud service, pulling data in from various different other data sources. You got the data set that is the schema, the model, the data model that you put together and you filter and you massage that into a model that makes sense for your business. You have reports on top of that show the drill down on the visualization and the detail for that data, and dashboards are your sort of high level log in the morning, see what's happening kind of view. The last thing I wanted to mention before I stop talking at this point is actually a feature here which is quite nice, which is the ability to actually query your data in natural language. This is one of these things that is definitely evolving. It's not perfect by any means, but it is very powerful. So this particular dashboard is one of the samples you can actually install yourself just by going, and if you click on Get Data when you log in, you have the ability to actually get samples. So you can get the samples that I'm working with here, or you can use the Get Here on Services to go to those content packs that I mentioned previously. So if you've got any of these services, you can point to those, and there's already pre-compiled data sets and various other things that you can point at. So it's worth exploring. But if I go back to that dashboard, this natural language process, and if I just click on total revenue, so these are example queries you can use. So in theory, that means, yep, so there you go. So it's actually giving me straight away the total revenue based on the data set this is coming from. And you can actually say, you can see what it's doing here is it's confirming what it thinks you've asked for. So it's showing total revenue from the customer profitability sample. I can then actually change that. So let's use the suggestion, business unit. Now it's changing. So just by changing the sentence up here, it's actually tweaked it. So previously it was just a total. Now it's broken down by the business unit. If I go back, maybe I want to change that to by date. So now, again, it's trying to pick the best visualization it can imagine based on what you've asked for. Let's say sorted by quarter. Now you can see it's tabular rather than a chart. And this is all by just typing some text in. And as you can see, it's trying to guess what you're doing as you type to help you to build the query. Well, once you're happy with what you have, you can then actually use that to pin it onto a dashboard. So now I've just built a visualization effectively without having to go to the Power BI tool, without having to know anything really other than how to question the system. So I can add it to an existing dashboard, pin that in, and now if I go to my dashboard, there it is. That's the visualization I just put together by asking my data, what do you have? That is very powerful, and that is getting better and better all the time. In fact, that the pop-up, that is getting much better each time I use this, to be honest. Every time it seems to be getting better and better at actually giving me the right thing. So that's Power BI. I hope that's been of interest and useful. It's a very powerful tool. The one thing that I was saying during that was I was going to go back to the licensing. So very quick finish on that. Everything I've shown today has been using the free service. Everything I've done you could do by just going and registering at powerbi.com, and that's the free service. They'll give you access to building the data sets, building the reports, the dashboards, sharing those with anyone, including installing the Power BI desktop itself. So you can do all of that for free. Power BI Pro gives you extra things. So on top of the standard free model, you get the greater capacity. So with the free model, you do have a certain limit in terms of the amount of queries you can make against the data sets. For general individual usage, you won't really hit them. They're sort of in the tens of thousands data set size, whereas with Power BI Pro, it's much, much bigger. The greater capacity limits is shown there. There's the ability to refresh, so automatically those reports that I was showing with the data, they can refresh from the services on a daily basis with the free version. With Power BI Pro, you can set it up to refresh hourly. The other thing that's quite important is the on-premise data. So you can only access on-premise data using Power BI Pro. What you can have there is you can have one license that has Power BI Pro and install the software using that user. That would then make it available to other users that use Power BI within the organization. And the other side with Power BI Pros, it's built into Office 365 organizational setup. So you can specifically set permissions on reports and dashboards to individuals within your organizational Office 365 environment using Power BI Pro. So yeah, final steps. Go and sign up for it. Play with it. This is one of these sort of tools that it only gets better the more you use it. the more you use it, the better you'll understand it, and the more you'll have many a moment where you look at it and go, I didn't know it did that. So I highly recommend you go and sign up for the account and just give it a go, really. So thank you very much. I'm going to open the mics. If there's any questions, just shout out, and thank you very much.